Thank you so much. Hello and good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Dr. Kelli Dunlap. I am a licensed clinical psychologist, and I also have a background in games design. And I've been working at the intersection of games and mental health as a clinician, designer, researcher, and educator for over a decade. In addition to being a video game psychologist, which is the coolest title ever, I serve as the executive director of Take This, the original mental health and games charity. Take This has been an advocate for mental health of game players and developers for over a decade, and is dedicated to destigmatizing mental illness and increasing mental health resources in gaming spaces. At Take This, we work to cultivate a games community that welcomes and supports people who are experiencing mental health challenges. One of the ways we do that is through operating our AFK quiet rooms at gaming conventions across the country. As you can see, our last room was actually at Pokemon North American International Championships in New Orleans, actually earlier this month, so not even a month ago. And these are quiet spaces, are an oasis from the chaos of gaming conventions where overwhelmed attendees can take a break, take a breath, and get back to the fun. We also promote social and emotional well-being through gameplay in both community and professional spaces. So whether we're streaming a chill game on our weekly Twitch streams or advocating for mental health inclusion and accessibility with professional stakeholders, we strive to create safe, inclusive, and supportive environments where everyone feels seen, heard, and empowered, both on screen and off. And last but not least, we work to center the humanity. There we go. We work to center the humanity and mental well-being of game creators. We work with devs from small studios to AAA studios on challenges like burnout and crunch during development. We also work with them on strategies for welcoming and accommodating neurodivergent people in the workforce. And we also highlight the importance of psychological safety in creating safer, more inclusive, and more creative workspaces. And I'm sure you can all imagine that caring for the mental well-being of game devs in the past couple years has been a particularly difficult thing for us to do due to the mass layoffs and instability over the industry. So I love myself some research, and we know from general research that about 50 to 80% of jobs in general are filled through some kind of connection or networking. So this means at best, your chance of landing a job, if you don't already have someone on the inside, is 50-50, regardless of your qualifications or skills. And then also consider that only 30% of jobs are ever posted publicly. So the vast majority of opportunities are taken up by people who already have their foot in the door. And then if we look specifically at games, there's only a 4% chance for someone to land an industry job within a 12-month period. And then if you do the math and you add all these probabilities together, it means that you have a 0.24% chance of getting hired into a game industry role over the course of a year. And to kind of help us figure this number, that's the same as if you applied to 8 jobs every week for an entire year before the odds were even for you. So in short, networking isn't just helpful, it's often the deciding factor. But what happens to those who can't afford to be in the room? Attending conferences and industry events like this one requires more than just talent and interest. It takes money for travel, hotel stays, and badges, the physical capacity to travel to events, and the flexibility to take time off of work and family obligations. And for many, these are privileges, not givens. And for those without these privileges, often the very people we claim to want more of in this industry, the climb becomes steeper and the gate harder to open. As an organization of mental health professionals and advocates, we know from research that awareness is only the first step towards meaningful change. But turning awareness into action requires sustained support. And that's why, even as Take This will continue to serve developers and studios as they are right now and into the future, we are focused on a different kind of future, because real lasting change depends on empowering the next generation of games leaders. And that brings us to Accelerate, which is what we're here to talk about today. Accelerate is a 6-month fellowship initiative that empowers early career professionals to explore and develop careers focused on the intersection of games and mental health. Our goal with this program is to leverage our expertise, connections, and access to foster the future leaders with the knowledge, skills, and relationships that they need to succeed, especially those driven individuals whose identities and voices have traditionally been marginalized from the game industry and game-adjacent spaces. And so when we were conceptualizing Accelerate, we developed what we affectionately refer to as our game plan, because everyone loves an acronym. I've also been told that it spells mage, and that caused a lot of design chaos that I said, no, we have to stay for this for now, maybe season 3. But growth, applied learning, mentorship, and education are the core principles of Accelerate, and they're the fuel it's the fuel for the fellowship process. So if we look at the program, the foundation is interdisciplinary education, equipping fellows with the equivalent of a graduate school semester's worth of coursework in topics related to psychology, mental health, game design, accessibility, and advocacy work. And most importantly, how all of these unique areas of study interact, overlap, and actually support one another. And in addition to academic instruction, fellows receive professional development, such as resume reviews and strategies for public speaking. And then last but not least, in addition to curriculum, fellows are, I missed my spot. Fellows receive professional development support. Actually, I just said that, I'm sorry. In addition to the curriculum, fellows are paired with mentors who have extensive experience in the industry, a track record of promoting well-being and inclusion in gaming spaces, and a strong desire to support the next generation of change makers. Throughout the program, fellows are challenged to apply the knowledge and skills that they've learned through our curriculum and our mentors. From regular homework assignments derived from real-world situations they're likely to face, to creating and completing a capstone project over the course of the entire program. Fellows have ample opportunity to flex their creative and analytical muscles in ways that strengthen their competence, confidence, and professional readiness. And the combination of education, mentorship, and applied learning fosters a transformative process that begins with a fellow's ideas and enthusiasm and ends with confidence, purpose, and a game plan for the future. So these are all really great ideas. I love all of them. But do they actually work? What actually happens? And so thanks to incredibly generous support from Riot Games, we were actually able to launch our pilot season of Accelerate last summer. And so what's going to happen next is I'm going to tell you how it went. So the program was developed by and managed by myself and my colleague, Dr. Sarah Hayes, as well as support from the entire Take This team. It was very much a team effort. Dr. Hayes has a long track record of doing games-based mentorship programming and is also a therapist who specializes in games, queer, and neurodivergent folk as well. Okay, so kind of the overview to situate all of this. Our schedule for season 1 started in June 2024 with open applications. We reviewed applications and invited 25 applicants to a second round for interviews. And from that crew, we selected our 10 fellows. And just for information, fellows met twice a week, so 2 times a week for a total of 3 hours from September to April. So it's a pretty intense program. The first half of the program was curriculum heavy, and this ensured that everybody was on the same page in terms of basics around mental health, game design, the games industry, and the spaces in between. On the back half of the program is where we introduced our professional development. And class time was spent on topics like crafting a resume, public speaking, networking, and one of my favorite but not favorite topics of what to do when you get laid off in the games industry. Not if. And then so the timing of professional development was intentionally scheduled to align with attendance at an industry event, an opportunity where fellows could put into practice in real life, in real time, what they'd been working on all season and plant seeds for professional growth in their futures. Throughout the entire program, fellows worked on a capstone project, and technically, capstone work began pre-season as candidates were asked to identify a specific challenge at the intersection of mental health and games and propose a potential project to address that challenge. Obviously, we didn't lock applicants into their initial pitches, but they did work on these ideas from the day they started all the way to the very last day of the program. And at the last part of the program, fellows presented their pitches to a panel of judges, and the top 3 pitches were awarded a cash prize. And then speaking of mentors, fellows met with their industry mentor at least once a month for guidance and support. It could be personal issues, professional issues. Mentors had a really big role in helping fellows shape their capstones. So how did we do? This was the plan. How did it go? Well, we had a total of 576 applicants for 10 spots. And yes, we reviewed all 576 applicants by hand. Like I said, it was a very large staff, all hands on deck type of thing. And the main areas of interest that applicants endorsed were game design, mental health advocacy, and accessibility. So this was really validating to see come out is that there's interest, and the interest aligns with what we're actually looking for and with our goals. In terms of who applied, we had a pretty good amount of diversity when it came to gender identity, sexual orientation, race, and ethnicity. And the asterisk is there because on the application, we asked applicants to self-identify via a text box. So there was a really wide range of answers that people identified with. But for the purposes of visual ability to read anything, we did condense them down into these categories. So after months of review, interviews, and deliberation, we had our 10 fellows. And here are their lovely faces of the very first Accelerate class. I know, oh, at least one of them's here in the audience. Sophie, right there, Sophie. They were amazing in terms of bringing in a diverse range of academic and professional backgrounds. So this crew included researchers, developers, designers, artists, accessibility consultants, an esports academic, that's so right, a mental health professional, and a death doula in training. And for our goal of supporting traditionally marginalized groups, I'm really proud to report 50% of our cohort identified as neurodivergent, 90% identified as with the queer community, and 80% identified as non-white. And of course, none of this is possible without our mentors. And for our first season, we welcomed Malik Tafaha, Senior Manager of Global Diversity and Inclusion and Accessibility at Ubisoft, Dr. J.C. Lau, Senior Advanced Producer at Probably Monsters, Rachel Romero, former SVP of Marketing at Critical Role, Jared Huntley, Peabody Award-winning game developer and Senior Lead Optimization Engineer at Alchemy Labs, and Jay Lin, formerly of Feminist Frequency and current Executive Director of Unbound Communities. Each of our mentors was paired with 2 fellows through like some secret sauce, proprietary stuff in the background, and we had great matches the whole way through. And while I don't have time to go through our full range of 6 months of syllabus, even though I would love to, I did want to take a moment to share just a small sample of the text that we referenced during the program so that you can see kind of the variety and diversity that we were pulling from. And of course, whenever possible, we included videos, web pages, and of course, games as ways of teaching and sharing information. And so in addition to the required reading that we have here, fellows completed assignments that were similar to what would have been asked of them in a games industry job. So for example, we had fellows analyze a game, pick any game they want, and analyze the mental health representation in that game, and then share their findings with their cohort. Very similar to how a consultant might do an analysis and then share feedback with an actual client. And then, so we're doing this for months and months and months, all leading up to our trip to GDC. So when we launched this program, we didn't know we were going to GDC. We knew we were going to take them somewhere, but we didn't know quite where. So thank you to Sony, I Need Diverse Games, and GDC's leadership for helping get our fellows there. 8 of our fellows were able to make the trip, and it was paid for, because that's obviously a big part of access, is financial cost. 2 of our fellows who attended had been previously as conference associates, but this was everyone's first time as an attendee. And also during GDC, 2 of our fellows, Jamie and Ro, went rogue, and they created a therapeutic art in the park experience in Yoruba Gardens. This experience was tied to both of the capstone projects they were working on, and so they came up with it by themselves, they put everything together by themselves, and all they asked was like, hey, can you give us a retweet to help us advertise? So visitors to the space were prompted to share stories through art about the challenges of being in the industry. And all of the drawings, doodles, poems, and crafts that were created in this space were compiled into a digital zine and then shared. Watching the fellows strike out on their own and do something this cool and this impactful is seriously one of the highlights of the entire program for me. And speaking of capstone projects, one of the things we're going to do differently next time around is we got back from GDC, and less than a month later, they had to pitch their projects. It was a pretty tight turnaround. We're going to do better. So they had a panel of judges, and the capstones themselves range from game pitches and vertical slices to full-blown research projects. And the 3 highest scored projects were Therapy, to Go, by Jamie Drapreza, which is a service where people use role-playing as a conversation for a real-life person or a professional issue. So imagine playing a TTRPG, but instead of going on a quest to slay the dragon is your boss, and you're figuring out how you want to talk about that. Accessible Dungeon by Percival Kish. It's an RPG board game that teaches mental health accessible design through the gameplay. That's how you make your way through the dungeon, is by learning the different mental health accessibility tactics. And then our winner for the season was Playfully Mortal by Ro Patterson. It's an educational hub offering curated interactive tools for self-help seeking gamers to explore grief literacy and death positivity through games. So it's basically a library of games about death and grief, and having like book clubs and game clubs around these topics for people to share about their experiences and feel supported. And so that was it. They pitched their projects, the program ended. It did not end for me and Sarah, though. There was still a lot of work to do. But we do have some really wonderful postseason reflection and wrap-ups. So we made 783 presentation slides. And anybody who knows me knows that's probably on the low side. We collated 102 supplemental resources. So that's readings, videos, articles. A lot of them were presented by us, but a lot of them came from the fellows too, and we added them to our catalog. We delivered 50 unique seminar topics and provided 240 hours of face-to-face time with fellows as well with the mentors as well. And despite the pretty significant challenges of a totally remote 6-month program meeting 3 hours a week, we had a 100% graduation rate. We kept everybody, and I'm so proud of that. And then if that's not cool enough, here are a few of the things that our fellows have accomplished during the program. They were invited to be game industry speakers at a variety of events. Some of the fellows have gone on to publish their capstone projects. We actually had a fellow present at GDC this year. One of our fellows was so excited because he became the marketing chair for his local IGDA chapter. One of our fellows received a grant to support the work. That was Rose, so she got a grant to support the Playfully Mortal book club, games club. We had one of our fellows guest lecture at RPI, and we had several fellows gain employment, one of which specifically was in the industry from contacts she made at GDC. And then while I can't take credit for this last one, we are expecting our first Accelerate baby coming this fall. And so as I finish up, I just want to leave you with some of the words from the fellows themselves. Well, that's really small on this. I just can't get over how encouraging and affirming the experience has been. You guys poured so much into us to help us nurture the sparks that were already there and just make us more confident and empowered to go forth. The experience was so valuable. It's driving me to keep going and have hope for my career as long as I fuel my passion and make an impact on others. And lastly, I deserve to be here in games, period. That my path in games, my role, doesn't always have to be preset or really defined. I can forge my path, and I want and can be successful with it. And then from our mentors and judges, just briefly, being a mentor has become a crucial part and quite possibly my favorite part of my own career development, and it's been amazing to see my two rock stars grow so much over the course of the past months. The fellows make me feel like the future of the industry ain't that bad. And this is the most comprehensive and supportive early career program I have ever seen. The level of polish on all these projects at their various stages is easily industry standard, with an emphasis on practical and impactful. The organizers, mentors, and fellows that take this are doing the work for game dev, mental health, trust and safety research, the whole kit and caboodle. So thank you, mentors and judges. And the last I ask of you all is if you are interested, we do have an Accelerate post report that has more pictures, it has stories, it has a lot more in-depth about like the nitty-gritty of the program, and it's available at takethis.org. I'm also really excited because we were able to fund season 2. So we risked it for the biscuit for our pilot season. It paid off, and so we're so grateful. Between Riot Games and Unlikely Collaborators has joined us as a funder as well. Applications are currently open, and they will through July 13th. So if you or someone you know feel like Accelerate would be a good fit for you as a fellow, please apply. If you're interested in the program but you're not maybe early career, I will define early career is within 5 years of being in the game industry or career switch. So if you were like a mental health provider for 10 years and you just started out in games, you're now early career in games. If you are interested in being a speaker or you want to provide support to help fellows grow professionally, we are welcoming all of that as well. And yeah, that's my time. I think I have 2 minutes for questions if anybody has any. Thank you. Yeah, in the back.
This is amazing. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Are there things that you'll do different based on the lessons learned from the first session?
Yes, so a lot of it is organizational. We learned that booking flights for 10 people is really hard. We're not a travel agency. Take This as a small team. We only have 3 full-time employees. So we found some strategies around that. Obviously, we're starting a month later this year so that we can have a better balance between curriculum, break, and then going to GDC, and obviously more space between our trip and the capstones at the end. We're going to have some new mentors this season. So we have some that are remaining and some that are going to come in new. And I think maybe just a little bit more data collection because we had all these intentions of data collection last time, and we got quarterly check-ins, but I would love to collect more moments of the program as possible and to share those out. Yeah, thank you. There was a question over here. Yeah.
Awesome. Super interested in the resource catalog. Is that something that folks can see if they go online, or something we could look at to see what resources?
So right now it exists on let's see, we had 24 weeks of coursework, so it's in 24 Google Docs. So it's spread out because it was just very much an organic of here's your reading list, and then the fellows would add to it. So I don't have it, but you can feel free to send me an email, and I'd be happy to share because it's all based on the topic. So when we're talking about mental health representation, that's what is on that list, but there's not one collated list at this point.
So you won't be at GDC next month then?
Next month.
Right? It's in July, right?
So
Or that's GCX.
like, wait a minute. So as of right now, our goal is to go to GDC 2026, but very much like last season, we can't promise it. It is a goal. We are working on it. Our lovely fundraiser, Kim, is here and who is essential to us making that happen. But that is our goal because that's the best place to be. No, it's okay. I appreciate it.
They all work together.
They do. They do.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Let's give
you.
her a round of applause.